Hello, I'm James Jack. This show is called HomesRadio. I'm not new to this show, and nor am I new to Fairfax Cable Access channel. I do a radio show here at Fairfax Radio, and it's also called HomesRadio. So sometimes people ask, well, why would you do a TV show and a radio show and both have the same name? Well, this is where I split hairs. For a number of years, a lot of years in fact, I did radio here in the Washington, D.C. area and around the country. I did all types of radio. I did R&B, I did spiritual music, I did public radio, jazz, just a number of things, oldies. And I got to be pretty good at it too. Yes, I was one of the best. A friend of mine told me, if you can't say that you were one of the best, then you were an also-ran. However, when my radio days were over and I had to find something else to do, I went back to school, and when I got out of school, I was broke. So I knew during the time that I was in school that I could probably make a little money and pay off some student loans and eat and have a place to sleep if I did real estate. So I got married. My wife is a real estate professional and had been for a very long time. No reflection on her age, just on her experience. And I knew a little bit about radio and real estate and technology. So I told her, I'll put the radio aside, I won't do radio anymore. I'll do real estate with you, we'll make lots of money, and we'll pay off my student loans, and then we can travel the continent. Yes, it didn't happen that way, but we did start a real estate company, and the company is called Ernestine J. Wilson Real Estate. I'm a salesperson, licensed here in Maryland, DC, and Virginia. And I would like to say in respects to that, I'm pretty good at real estate too. I know a lot about houses. I know a lot about mortgages, and I know a lot about what people like in a house. Because every time I walk into a house and I'm with someone, I like to think that, is this a place that I would like to live too? And then I stop for a moment and I say, well, it's really not about me. It's about the person who I'm with or the family that I'm with. And once they've told me what they want, then that's how I go into hyperspace or hyper mode or whatever the case may be. No, I don't get frantic. Thoughts run through my head as to why would a person want 4 bedrooms as opposed to 3 bedrooms? Well, I'm counting heads, but sometimes it has to do more with family and other things, or maybe changing one of the bedrooms around to an office or something like that. So what people tell me is what I digest, and then I look for a property that they like. That's what I do on the home side. On the radio side, it started off with me wanting to only talk about real estate, the buying, the selling, the leasing of property, things like that. But because my background is music, and we have a really nice radio station here, so, some things you just can't get away from. So I try to mix it up and try to make it more real estate than radio, but it doesn't happen that way. So when I walk in the door, my mind may have a mindset of, thinking about just houses and things like that, and I'm going to talk about that for the next hour, sometimes 2. But I usually wind up playing songs, from everybody. Ella Fitzgerald, Judy Collins, Earth, Wind and Fire, Michael Jackson, whatever is my fancy. I just play it all, no straitjacket. And I get a nice feeling because I feel very fortunate to be one of those people who knows a little bit about this and a little bit about that, and I've been happy in both vocations. Yes, I have another vocation that I could have gone into, but we'll talk about that later. Right now, we're going to talk about the business of buying homes, looking for homes, selling homes, renting homes, looking for apartments and things like that. No, not all in this 1/2 hour, but over a series of shows, as I did when I was here before. I took a little breather, not because I had to, but because I had some things I needed to take care of myself, because I also like development in terms of, taking old houses, converting them, looking for other avenues in real estate, such as commercial development and things like that. We'll talk about that way down the line. But right now, we're going to talk about your single-family homes, and we're going to talk about, we're going to have a conversation, you and I, about single-family homes, about duplexes, about any form of home that you or someone that you know may like or want or have. So there we go. The show is called Homes Radio. I'm James Jack, and I think that just about sums it up. I'm just really glad to be back. I enjoy coming here. I enjoyed doing the shows before. I couldn't wait to get back, but I had to wait until all this newfangled technology was put into place. Not newfangled to me, because I'm a techie. I like anything that whirls, buzzes, whizzes, blinks, all of that, yes. I keep my trusty friend R2D2 here with me, and that's how we stay connected. And we'll talk about how cell phones and computers and all things like that have really taken a hold of the market. Now, most of the time when someone I meet or I haven't talked to in a while, beyond the highs and buys and things like that, they want to know what's the state of real estate now. What is real estate like now? Well, I'm not a doomsday person. I'm always optimistic, regardless. Even when we had the downturn, I said, this is a great opportunity for someone who has saved a little money and they can buy a house. Some people would say, well, they're buying somebody's foreclosed property. Not necessarily so. It could have been a house that, say, an older couple had decided they wanted to sell and move to a warmer climate. Or it could have been a family that has moved from here, from another place, I should say, to here, and they like the Washington, D.C. area. Or it could be somebody who lives in Annapolis but has decided, now I want to live in Springfield. So I can help them to sell their home in Annapolis, and I can help them to find a home in Springfield or in D.C. or any other place. That's what the state of real estate to me is all about, looking for opportunities and also for opportunities to find me. And it has turned out to be a really good relationship too, because back in the day, someone would call the real estate company, the office, or someone you would see would say, I would like to do this or do that, and things get started like that. And let me tell you, it was almost the dark ages when compared to today. Now people call and say, I saw this house, or they send a text message, or they send something from WhatsApp with a picture on it, or they'll send something from Instagram, or I'll see it on Facebook. However the method, it's not the same as it was before. Because many times I don't get a chance to see the person until they've seen several houses, they've taken virtual tours and everything. And then they call and say, I would like for you and Ernestine to help me to buy this house or to sell my house. Or I have a friend who's looking for a house in my community and I think this would be perfect for them. And I've told them all about you and they're just really overjoyed to meet you. How can we all make this happen? And it happens simply because we're in that age now where it is instant communication, it is instant information, it's verifiable, and not only is it coming from one source, it's coming from many sources. If I were you, and I'm out, riding around and I see a house, I would take a picture of it. People say, what good is that gonna do? Well, you can take that same picture and on Google will find that particular house based on the graphic itself. HomeSnaps will do the same thing, HomeSnap, I should say. And so we'll, oh my goodness. Well, there's so many of them, just, they're everywhere. So people say, do you have that technology available in your office? No, we don't have to. Well, what do you have in your office? This is our office. Sure, there's a physical location, but for the most part, I could be at National Harbor and you call me and say, I saw this house. I'll say, send me the details on it, send me a picture of it. Within seconds, I know all about the house. In a few more seconds, I'm communicating with the agent. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. So the state of the real estate market in 2016 is better than ever. And it's going to get even better People say, well, I looked in this area and I didn't see any homes. You couldn't see them all. Why? Because some of them have not been built yet, but they're going to be. Sometimes I get advanced information on that, telling me that there are going to probably be about 200 homes built in this area and this area, where there was nothing but forest at first, or where the county or the city has decided to rezone and build more single-family homes for the growing numbers of people who are moving into the Washington, D.C. area, or who are moving around in the Washington, D.C. area. That's the state of real estate today. Is that all to it? No, there is more to it than that. Because in conjunction with real estate, you also have mortgages. Yes, it has all changed. I heard a commercial, or I've seen it, about the rocket going up. No, it's not a shameless plug for them. It just means that they've captured a market that wants to know, how can I get there fastest? Are they the only ones? No, but they have a lot of money and they can buy time during the basketball tournament. And for someone who's sitting there watching the basketball game, instead of getting up to go and get a beer or some pretzels or whatever, they're told to hold on just for a moment. Let us tell you about how you and someone that you know can get a mortgage very quickly. So if you're out looking for a home, you'll know well in advance if you're qualified for that home, or you'll know what you are qualified for. It works. A lot of people call them Gen Ys. Not so. I don't like the so-called generation names. Why? Because I know people who are 19, 20 years of age, some of them still in college, or some of them who have never gone to college, or who are in the military, or some who work at this place or that place and they want to buy a home. I know people who are 35 and 40 years of age. They want to keep the house that they've got. They're the first in their generation, or they're the first in their families to be able to actually have a house that they can rent to someone else and buy another house, whether it's a new home or whether it's a splendid Victorian in Tacoma Park. How do I know that? Because I'm in touch. And people are in touch with me, as they are with virtually every real estate company in this area and across the country. Yes, across the country. Because even if you're in Dallas, Texas, and you're moving here, or you want to have a place in near the shore, all you have to do is just, and I'm there. And if not me, one of my colleagues, someone else in the business who I'm competing with. But I don't mind, because competition makes you better in all respects. So now that I've said my hellos to you and introduced you to myself and Homes Radio, I'm going to take a quick little break. And when I come back, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the state of the affairs here today.
We cannot approve the loan until your wife goes back to work. I'm sorry.
Housing discrimination isn't always obvious or straightforward, but it is against the law. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, protects your rights to equal opportunity in housing.
If you've experienced housing discrimination, HUD can help. They can pursue compensation for your injuries and protect your equal opportunity to housing free of discrimination.
Welcome back. I'm James Jack, and this show is called Homes Radio. I don't have to explain it anymore. It'll grow on you, as it grew on me too. And even though people do ask, well, why Homes Radio? I like it. You know, it's like anything else in life. Sometimes you can explain it and people don't understand, and sometimes you just take it as it is. And that makes it a lot easier for me too, because as I mentioned earlier, I not only do the TV show here, but I also do a radio show. And I enjoy doing it because it captures the very essence of me at the time that I prepare to come in and do a show such as this, or when I walk into the radio station. My wife sometimes says, I don't understand how you can just be so subdued at times, but when you walk in there, you become another person. I can't explain it. I'm that way. And there are times when I'll tell her, it's sort of like when we take people around to look at homes, and they'll look at a house and you don't know, you can't read their minds. That's human nature. We can't fly, we can't see through things, and we obviously can't read one another's minds. But what we do is ask questions, because when you ask questions, or when people ask you questions, that's how you make the connection between what they want, what they don't want, what they need and what they don't need. And when that right moment comes along and there's that moment of silence, and they start, looking at the house and walking through the house. And normally when you would walk through a house and you're there 7 or 8 or 15 minutes, you're gone. We're there for a half an hour. They like this house. They like it. There's no explanation why. You may say to yourself, but it needs new bathrooms. Or you need to remodel the kitchen. Or it's, too much traffic outside. Whatever the case may be, whatever a person likes, the customer's always right. Really. And usually what happens is when they get that feeling, it's something that says, this would make the perfect home for me. And home is where the heart is. And obviously they've walked into a space and something almost supernatural have caught their attention, have gotten inside of them, and that's what they want. Our job is to help them to get it. And we do a pretty good job of it, as most real estate professionals do that I know. You can call one up and say, well, have you got something that looks interesting? Sure, try it out. Some people would say, well, that's the nature of the business. You never know what someone else has in Forestville that fits someone's fancy who's coming from Cumberland, Maryland, or someone who's in Stafford County that wants to move to Northeast DC. You just never know. But if you ask questions, as we do all the time, then we get into their heads, they get into our heads, and what do you call it, a symbiotic relationship, or what do they call it in communications? There's the transmittal and there's the reception. We're just the conduit, and that's all. And that's a pretty good place to be, too. Smack dab in the middle. So if the middle means that we've found the perfect situation for them, that whether it lasts for the next year or two or the next generation or two, we've done what we were expected to do as real estate professionals. The same can be true, said of about just about anybody, any professional, situation, whether it be a doctor or a lawyer or whether it be a psychiatrist. Well, a psychiatrist is a doctor, isn't it? You get my drift. A writer, an actor, a truck driver. It's just what we do to make people feel good about it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here today. And this is going to be the first of many shows. I'm not going to get into too much detail about what the show is going to be about. But I sort of fancy myself as a storyteller. So I'm going to spend a number of, throughout, I guess you could say, a number of the shows, telling stories about what happened when people wanted to buy a house or wanted to sell a house or wanted to move from one place to another place, or when they were in trouble, yes, underwater, and we had to make it right for them so that they would have a little time to catch their breath and then come back and say, I want to buy another house. So we started off earlier talking about how technology has affected the business. And I reminded you to take a look at your cell phone and say, this is a much more powerful instrument than I may have realized in the past. It does a lot of things, but what it does is it informs and entertains and connects better than most things that I know about today. I recommend apps like HomesNap, well, I don't want to give anybody any plugs or anything like that, but you know them. I've done it many times. I've driven by a house and said, whoa, stop. I've taken a picture of it on HomesNap or one of these others, Zillow. I said I wasn't going to plug, didn't I? But you understand. I'm not the only one. This is not privileged information to me. It's for everybody. Believe it or not, we had clients in the Far East, I'm going to say. And they were looking at houses on the internet, and they told us, about a house here in the Washington, D.C. area that they were interested in. So between Facebook and Skype and all the rest, we started a dialogue about the houses and the neighborhoods and everything else. Unbelievable. My father would roll over. He would say, "It can't happen." I said, "Pops, it is happening. We're just not one small village anymore. We're global." And I've gotten communications from people who didn't speak English that well. But because of this, the translation was doable. So we began to understand each other in terms of there being no language barrier. And the same is true with neighborhoods. I've talked to people about neighborhoods here in the Washington, D.C. area that they knew nothing about. They knew nothing about Ashburn, Gainesville. They knew nothing about Greenbelt, Bowie. They knew nothing about MacArthur Boulevard. They knew nothing about Baltimore or Richmond. But because of the communications possibilities today in real estate, there's so much to talk. Hey, obviously, if we're talking about it and it's communications, it could be Homes TV. But in my neck of the woods, it would be called HomesRadio. Makes sense to me now. The communications possibility, the ability to not only just tell someone about it, but to actually show them instantly that this house has a sauna, it has a gazebo, it has a 2-car garage, the security system is state of the art, it has everything that you've asked for. Not only that, but there's another one down the street, just about the same price. It's not overpriced, it's not underpriced, but it has a different floor plan. Would you like to see it? And there we are. So why would I be doing something like that? Because if I operated like I did 20 years ago, I'd be out of business. True. I wouldn't have any business. Well, I would have very little business. So I stay abreast, as most real estate professionals in this area and around the country do. It goes beyond that too, because staying in touch is more than introducing someone to a new community or a new home or to a new neighborhood or whatever the case may be. It's also about staying in contact with them. When the temperature dropped during the wintertime, I sent out e-blast. I let people know that you need to do something with your faucets to make sure that your pipes don't burst. I know that from personal experience. Or you need to do something because the time changed yesterday or the day before or last week. So change the batteries in your smoke alarms and also the batteries in your, what is the other little thing that, that tells you that the air is not, you understand what I'm saying, carbon monoxide or whatever, Have radon testing done in your home, even though you've been there for 10 years. You just never know, to operate on the safe side. So we do those types of things. When we have clients that we've had for a long time celebrating birthdays and anniversaries, we send e-blasts to them too. We send cards. We send lots and lots of postcards. We also send Valentine's Day cards. We send Christmas cards, and people say, if they didn't get their Christmas card a week before Christmas, they call us and they say, "I didn't get my Christmas card yet," because they expect that from us, as they do from other real estate professionals around the area. We ask people in the neighborhood if they like their neighborhood or would they like to look at another neighborhood where we just sold the house. Or we ask them, things like, do you know somebody else who would like to move into this neighborhood? In other words, it's marketing, it's constant marketing. So that being said, I would like to also say that apart from coming back to Fairfax Cable, the Access Channel, and doing this TV show, which I expect to do lots of them, I'm going to bring in some really, really interesting people. Really, really interesting people. I'm going to bring back some of the people that I had here before: mortgage brokers, home inspectors, people who help people get down payment assistance, things like that. But I'm also going to bring in other types of people too, people who do things that you and I would not normally think about. You know, I'm not a very good painter, and we're not going to do a painting demonstration, but we're going to tell you what looks good as far as paint goes, and how now people aren't just slapping apartment white on their walls. They're doing all kinds of three-dimensional things, and it's really interesting. So with the help of the new digital technologies that we have here, I can do that, and I can show people a lot of things that's happening in their homes. One of the things that I like about the technology is that even if I'm in Los Angeles, California, I can either go online or take my cell phone and scan the house and see if there's anything there. No, I don't live in fear of someone breaking in, but other things can happen. There could have been a windstorm, or one of the kids could have, broken a window or something like that, and I didn't know anything about it because I don't have that aspect of security on my windows. But I can see that, and I tell other people about that too. You should do this for your home. It's a good idea. Pest inspections and things like that, just because you had it in the beginning, doesn't mean that you shouldn't have it again. You should do it and stay abreast. And so that helps people to help themselves, and it helps me to stay in touch with them, and it makes me feel very, very good as a professional. As good as when I walk into the studio and I play something by the Beatles. Yeah, I like the Beatles. I like the Stones. Yeah, I like them all. I like Kool and the Gang. I like Ella Fitzgerald and Duke Ellington. I like them all. And I like the crew that I'm working with here too. And as a matter of record, I want to say thank you to all of you for welcoming me back. I hope I do a very good job, and I hope I'm a good reflection on you and everyone else here. Thanks for watching. I'll be back in another show here at Homes Radio.